All right, on hand is a Panasonic Let's Note CF-SV7 Intro. I really enjoy small computers. I like the added portability they provide, and I love to see how manufacturers work within a device's physical constraints. In the case of the Japanese market, let's note, Panasonic packs a huge amount of functionality into a tiny footprint, more than most normal-sized computers on the market. It fits a lot of so-called retro features into the build, including a Wi-Fi kill switch, activity lights, VGA, a barrel charger, and full-size Ethernet, while including modern features, including modern processors and specs, HDMI, Thunderbolt 3, and a nice screen. This review will cover all the quirks and features of the Panasonic Let's Note CF-SV7 and why it's the best ultra-compact laptop I've used to date. Key points. 1. At long last, I have found my new favorite ultra-compact notebook. 2. The Let's Note line is effectively the X&T series ThinkPad of Japan. 3. The smaller the laptop, seemingly the better, wherever mobility and productivity tasks are concerned. A brief history of Panasonic's Japanese market laptops. Panasonic has been making ultra-compact Let's Note devices for the Japanese market for 3 decades, or since 1996, with the AL-N1. Ever since, Panasonic has supplied thousands of Japanese businesses with likely millions of laptops. These are effectively the ThinkPad of Japan, and I argue it's a far better device than your typical T and X series laptop from Lenovo. Furthermore, Panasonic doesn't only make 12-inch models under the Let's Note name, but they also make a 14-inch model called the CF-SV7. This follows the T14 and T16 concept, albeit 2 inches smaller across the board, respectively. Specs. For $200, this laptop provides a lot of value. The CPU is an i7-8650U with 4 cores and 8 threads at 2.11 GHz. Its RAM is 16 GB of 1867 MHz LPDDR3. Its GPU is an Intel UHD Graphics 620. Its SSD is a 240 GB Micron NVMe SSD. For Wi-Fi, it has Intel Wi-Fi AC 8265 802.11 AC and Bluetooth 4.1. For a display, it has a 12.1-inch 16 by 10 1920 by 1200 WUXGA 60 Hz IPS LCD with a matte texture. For the webcam, I'm unclear. I wasn't able to find any information about this online, but it's seemingly HD. For ports, it has 3 USB-As. I believe they're USB-A 3.0. It has 1 HDMI port, a 3.5mm headphone jack for 1/8-inch TRS, an SD card slot, 1 Thunderbolt 3, 1 Ethernet RJ45 jack, a Panasonic barrel jack. That seems to be pretty standard across Panasonic Toughbooks and Let's Note devices. It has cellular. I'm not sure about the type of SIM. It's probably internal, so you take the computer apart to get a SIM in there, and it also has a Blu-ray drive. Review. I'm not sure if people call it this, but I will. The Let's Note series is the ThinkPad of Japan. By my count, for the ultra-compact notebook space, Japan wins. Where the CF-SV7 is concerned, it is as wide as a standard numpad-less chiclet keyboard you might find on a laptop. This makes it shockingly small. If you take a look at your standard 13 or 14-inch laptop keyboard or any MacBook, that's how wide this device is. I didn't realize this until I got it in the mail inside a laughably tiny cardboard box. Compared to the other laptop I use daily, the ThinkPad P14s Gen 5, the CF-SV7 feels microscopic. Before using the CF-SV7, I felt like the P14s was normal size, but now I'm reminded daily of how small my new favorite laptop is. I'm all the more in awe of it. Size aside, this laptop is very capable. There's great port selection, and its magnesium body makes it incredibly light. I've held off talking about this until now, but the trackpad is likely the first thing you'll notice about any Let's Note device. Its tiny trackpad is a joy to use, thanks to the iPod-like rocker feature that allows you to scroll like it's 2001. I've never enjoyed scrolling so much in Windows. It's really efficient when scrolling vertically. However, scrolling horizontally is very difficult due to the trackpad's small size. It does support multi-touch, but it's the trackpad's too small for it to really be effective. Fortunately, due to the laptop's small screen, horizontal scrolling is likely going to be more common than you hope it would be. That is unless you turn the scaling all the way down and have tiny text. In the situations I need to scroll horizontally, which is mostly Excel, I just use the arrow keys. Since this is a Japanese laptop, it comes with a Japanese style keyboard. It took some time for me to get used to it. I am now, but I have a couple complaints. So not all the keys are mapped to what they show. For example, the ampersand is listed as being on the 6 key despite it being mapped to the 7 key. The non-numeric and non-alphabet keys on the keyboard, they're almost all wrong, the markings on them. So if you're going to use this keyboard and not replace it with the readily available $30 to $40 US replacement, you better be good at typing without looking at your keyboard. I'm harping on the keyboard some more. It's really unfortunate that there aren't dedicated page up and down keys despite there being a clear space for them. Unique input methods aside, this computer is perfect for typical web browsing and office use. Port selection allows me to not keep around an Apple SuperDrive and an Anker USB-C multi-port adapter because this device has everything I might need. In conclusion, I would recommend this laptop as spec'd for $300 or less, whereas for the i5 model of the CF-SV7, I'd recommend purchasing it for $200 or less. Hardware design review. I've mentioned some of the interesting design features earlier in this video, but here's just sort of a list of all the things that I've noticed so far. Replaceable battery. It's not hot swappable because there isn't an internal one. In my opinion, this is an oversight. The device is the width of a keyboard, small, and there's so much packed into it. The keyboard, it takes some getting used to for non-Japanese users, but it's great to type on and a dream to use once you get used to it. For the screen, it's 1920 by 1200. It's really all you need for Windows in a 14-inch or smaller device, and it has a great aspect ratio for keeping the device as compact as possible. The rocker trackpad, it's really fun to use, and the most obvious gimmick of the device's design, although it is a gimmick, it's really functional. So I do wish more laptops had this feature, especially as the devices get smaller, because the trackpads proportionally get smaller. So once you get to like around a 12-inch device, your trackpad's not gonna be that big anyway, so you might as well have a cool feature built in. Magnesium body, to my knowledge, its chassis is completely magnesium. It feels great and it's wonderfully light. Ports, there are ports on 3 sides of this device, and they can service pretty much any of your needs, and this is a far cry from pretty much any modern laptop you'll be finding. The ridges around the lid, they look good and they feel good, and they seem like they might add a little bit of durability to the lid, but there is excessive flexing. The bottom of the computer is pretty sturdy, but the lid is rather flimsy. They could have included some metal supports throughout the lid, but it's fine all things considered. And just to show you how much flex there is. Size. The device is an amazing size, and size is something on Panasonic's side with many devices, not just this one. Consider the FZ-M1. It's the exact dimensions of the iPad Mini 6. Aside from its width, it's 3 times thicker than an iPad Mini 6. Then it's just finally Blu-ray drive. I really like this inclusion. I would have preferred if Panasonic pulled from its roots with some of its Toughbook line and also from Apple's like PowerBook G3 line, and allowed an extra battery to slot in where the disk drive is located. So on those devices, you'd be able to pop out a disk drive and put in an extra battery if you wanted to. If you had this feature on this device, you would be able to hot swap main batteries, which in my opinion would be really cool and arguably much cooler than just having a Blu-ray drive on hand, especially considering how small this laptop is. Overall, this laptop is incredibly well designed, and it'll likely be my personal laptop for years to come, or until I find a better deal on a newer CS-FV model. Conclusion. In all, the Panasonic Let's Note CF-SV7 entered my life about a month ago, and I have happily used it for hours each day ever since. This laptop is phenomenal, and I have very few critiques. My biggest critique is that it doesn't have an internal battery to allow for hot swapping the main battery pack. Pretty much my only other critique is that it doesn't come with a second Thunderbolt 3 port. I use a ThinkPad M14D portable display while plugged in, and I prefer to carry around a 65-watt ThinkPad USB-C charger. 2 USB-C ports is pretty much a must for me. This issue is resolved in later CF-SV models, so this isn't much of a deal breaker. If you really want this type of device, you want 2 Thunderbolt or 2 USB-C ports, just get a newer model. It is definitely something to consider when purchasing any Let's Note device. If you have applications for 2 USB-C ports, you might just get one that has 2. This laptop is the closest thing to perfect that I've experienced from an ultra compact laptop in a long time. I've used a 12-inch MacBook, I've used Surface Go's, but really since my X240, this is the best ultra compact laptop I've used. But who knows, maybe I just really like 12-inch laptops. Just a note, in all seriousness, it's really difficult to find videos and information about any Panasonic device, let alone the Let's Note series, which has even less information than a lot of tough books do. So if there's anything I haven't addressed in this video that you're interested in seeing or hearing about, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to get back to you one way or another. Hey, looks like you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for that. You can find us here on YouTube and on Instagram as well. Links in the description.